let me officially welcome everyone. My name is Shannon Vance Ocampo. I serve as the General Presbyter for the Presbytery of Southern New England, and we wanted to offer a webinar with Ellie Johns-Kelly, who is our Ministry Relations Officer from the Presbyterian Foundation. Ellie is responsible for the Northeast, which is bigger than the Synod of the Northeast. Goes into some of Pennsylvania and Ohio, I believe, also, right, Ellie?
Just
so,
PA.
Just PA. So
all of PA. Yeah.
Yeah, all of Pennsylvania.
36 presbyteries.
Yeah. So Ellie does financial relationships, investments, all sorts of things for churches. And Ellie's already been doing some work with some of our churches in our presbytery. And Ellie and I have been talking about doing this webinar for a while. And certainly with this onset of COVID, have noticed that some of our churches that were not yet doing online giving have an interest in doing online giving. So let me just say, as we are getting started here, we do have some folks joining us, and we'll go around and introduce ourselves quickly. So just for sort of Zoom etiquette, if you haven't done Zoom before, if you move your cursor around your screen, you'll see a little button that says mute in your lower left-hand corner. It looks like a microphone. And when you're not talking, if you can mute yourself, that's great. So it cuts down on any background noise. If something happens in your house, a barking dog, your doorbell ringing, probably not right now, anything like that. And if you can't, let me know and I'll mute you and then I'll unmute you when we get to Q&A. And we'll do some Q&A at the end. There's also at the bottom of your screen, you'll see, it looks like kind of a comment, like from cartoons. It says chat. You can push that button and then you can chat in the chat box and write questions. And I'll monitor the chat as Ellie's doing her presentation. So as questions come up, we can field those after, and then we'll also do some Q&A verbally as well. So I know we've got some folks here with us from some other presbyteries in our synod. So why don't, I'm just gonna call on folks, and because it looks different on everybody's screen, but for folks to just quickly introduce themselves, just name and your church so that we can get going quickly with Ellie. So the first person I see is Younghoe.
Yes, this is Younghoe Allen from Northminster Presbyterian Church in Enmore, New York.
Wonderful, welcome. And then I have someone with an area code 607 phone number.
Jeff Smith from Northminster Presbyterian.
Welcome, Jeff. It's great to have you here. And then Wayne.
Yes, Wayne Long from Northminster Presbyterian as well.
Welcome, Wayne. Jane.
Jane Adams, Crossroads Presbyterian.
Welcome, Jane. Then I have an Peaster. Is that how you say your last name? Oh, and you have to unmute yourself.
There we go.
Yep.
Yes, it's Amy Peaster, and I'm from Northminster Presbyterian as well.
Fabulous. Welcome, Amy. Kukchin.
Thank you for inviting me. My name is Kukchin. I'm from Korean Presbyterian Church of Albany, which is in Albany Presbytery.
Fabulous. Jason.
Jason Santa Lucia. I'm at St. Andrew Presbyterian in Groton, Connecticut.
I have a Jeff.
Same one, Jeff Smith, Northminster.
Welcome, Jeff. And did I get to everybody? Malcolm, did you introduce yourself yet?
Malcolm Baxter, the Great Community Church Presbyterian in Warwick, Rhode Island.
Great, welcome. Welcome, Malcolm. So, so I'm gonna turn the controls over to Ellie to introduce herself. And did we lose Ellie?
I'm still here, can you hear me? Okay.
Great. So we'll let Ellie introduce herself. And again, if you're not talking, please do mute yourself. And feel free to use the chat item box while Ellie's talking, and then we'll circle back at the end. And we're gonna go for about 45 minutes. Ellie has a hard stop at 5 minutes before the hour. So welcome, everyone.
Thank you so much, Shannon. It's great to be here with you today. I am Ellie Johns-Kelly, your Ministry Relations Officer, which is simply a fancy way of saying I am your regional representative for the Presbyterian Foundation. The foundation, if you don't know, is the oldest and largest religious foundation in North America. We are the original trustees of the denomination and were established in 1799 as the trustees with the purpose of receiving gifts and bequests from pious Presbyterians for mission and ministry. We only can claim that we are the largest religious foundation in North America because our Roman Catholic brothers and sisters have their money in Vatican City. Clearly, they'd blow us out of the water, right? So we are one of the 6 agencies of the General Assembly. So you have Office of General Assembly, Presbyterian Mission Agency, Presbyterian Investment and Loan Program, Presbyterian Publishing, Board of Pensions, and then the Foundation. So we have a long legacy of doing work with planned giving education, as well as with investment options, particularly socially responsible investment options, and also stewardship education. We've been doing for probably about 7-8 years now, when the Presbyterian Mission Agency had to close their office due to lack of funding for stewardship education. It was only natural for us to take on that as we had been doing planned giving education. And as part of that, we have been offering online giving for our congregations for over 6 years. Our first beta test site came out in July of 2013. We believe that online giving is critical for our congregations as part of making giving easy. The offering is part of the liturgy, the work of the people. And if we only take cash or check in the offering plate, that means we deny those who don't carry check or cash full participation in worship. Even more prevalent today is the fact that we are living now into this COVID crisis, this pandemic. We're not able to worship together physically. We can do so virtually, but not physically. And what is stunning is, based on a study by the Lake Institute, the National Study of Congregations' Economic Practices that came out last fall, what we learned is that 81% of funding for our churches across the country come from individual donors, and 78% of the funds come in during worship. So because we are not gathering together physically for worship, online giving is more important even in the last week or two than it ever has been. And I want to tell you a little bit about our service. Let's see, I flipped back. Tell you a little bit about our service, answer any questions you have, and again, please use that chat room, address questions to Shannon and she'll lift them up to me. I'll also provide you a demonstration today. I'll make a gift to the Presbytery of Lake Erie, where I'm a member, and so you can see what it looks like from the donor side. So at the foundation, we have moved to Vanco Payment Solutions as our platform back in November of 2017. Vanco is the leader in church online giving. They have over 25,000 churches. Over 1,000 of them are ours, or PCUSA congregations signed up specifically through the foundation. But they are just an excellent group to be working with. They maintain PCI Level 1 compliance as a service provider for security standards online. This is very important to sessions often, as they're worried about liability. For you, you would simply add a link to an e-service page that would be particular to your church. When the person clicks on that link, it takes them to that e-service page for your congregation to make a gift. And then we at the foundation also maintain those same high standards for banking security. it is less expensive to go through us at the Presbyterian Foundation than to go through Vanco directly, which is pretty incredible. There is no startup fee with us. There's no recurring fee. It's simply a 2% administrative fee per transaction. And what's nice about that is you're not needing to negotiate with credit card vendors, merchant services, etc. So typically, for instance, Amex and Discover charge more than Visa and MasterCard. For us, it doesn't matter whether you're giving through your checking account, your savings account, whether you're using a debit or a credit card, doesn't matter if it's MasterCard, Visa, Amex, or Discover, it's just a 2% fee. So if someone gives $100 to your church will receive $98. The foundation will receive that $2 we forward on to Vanco for those fees. To apply is really easy. It's simply a 2-page application. And we will have these available to you. You can email me. I'll have my email at the end, and I can send you this recording as well as my PowerPoint, but I'll also send you the application and some other materials. So the fastest way to get your application processed is to email it to our team at onlineservices@presbyterianfoundation.org. Now you could fax it or send it via US mail, but that has to go through our mailroom, which will delay it a little more. And we want to be swift for you. During the pandemic, we are fast tracking applications. It typically is 5 to 7 business days for us to turn around and have a live site for you based on when it's received in our home office. Some days we get it turned around in 2 days. And we were able to get many of them turned around last week very swiftly. We had 54 applications processed last week. And between Thursday and Monday morning, we had another 61 applications come in. So we are being inundated, and unfortunately our own home office in Jeffersonville, Indiana had to go work remotely last week because of the pandemic. So it could be that it even might be 8 to 9 business days. We're trying to process these as swift as we can. But as you can imagine, I'm doing more and more of these webinars. So for your church, the best thing is to get your application in ASAP so you're at the top of the pile to be processed most quickly. For some basic administrative details, we at the foundation are a proper foundation. So we will receive and receipt all gifts and payments. We can take both contributions, charitable contributions, but we can also take fee for service. So say you're having a church dinner, or you're doing a rummage sale, or you have a book study and folks want to pay for the cost of the book. You can have a separate fund set up that's fee for service that will generate a different receipt for your folks. For instance, if you want to pay for your lunch at the Presbytery meeting, you get a different receipt for that than you get as your gift receipt for the other contributions folks make. And then at the foundation, not only do you get an immediate e-receipt from us, we send out a year-end contribution summary for those charitable gifts. So that usually shows up in your email box about January 24th or 25th. So it really alleviates a lot of administration for your churches. Your administrators are able, they will receive credentials to enable them to log in and monitor their contributions, payments, and run reports. You'll receive actually 2 logins, one for Vanco, if you want to be able to see if any have been designated special using a notes section, I'll show you later. Most folks use the InnoView login though, because that shows them the fees and any interest earned. If your money sits at the foundation for any length of time, it is in a money market account, and we do not retain the interest. We forward that on to you. So you'll be able to see the actual contributions the fees and then any interest received. Your administrators will get an email for every gift, as well as a daily summary report. Each day, one or more gifts are made. Now, if you don't want to get an email for each of those gifts, you simply email our online services team and they will turn that feature off for you. Typically, those funds sit in that money market account until the last business day of the month, when our home office does a swipe, and anything received in that month is then transferred to your church checking account on file. Depending on your bank, it may take 2 to 3 days to show up. However, administrators may request additional transfers up to once a week in increments of $100 or more. So with living into the pandemic right now, some of our churches live offering plate to offering plate regardless, but we'll have a lot more living that way right now. If it would be easier just to have that automated, normally we don't automate that for the weekly transfers, but because we're living in the midst of a pandemic, if your church needs that feature automated, your administrator just sends an email to onlineservices@presbyterianfoundation.org and we can automate that for you. And the transaction shows up as a gift made to the church or ministry in your donor's bank statement or credit card statement. So for instance, when I make a gift to the Presbytery of Southern New England, it showed up on my Amex card as Presbytery of Southern New England. So it's just a great program. Here you'll see our online giving program guide. You can click right on this picture and it will take you to the program guide that you can open it, or this link here. And it gives you more details that I'm covering it all today, but that you can take a look at on your own. Our online fund management tools will allow you to, one, offer a mobile responsive donation form, receive donations online or from a mobile device, and enable you to monitor contributions. Now, what's helpful to know, particularly for smaller churches who may not have a website, you don't have to. You're able to receive gifts by, one, including the URL code, that e-service page particular for your church, in e-newsletters that you send out to folks. You're also able to talk about the Give Plus app that folks can download on their smartphone, and encourage folks just to put in their zip code and your church will show up as pre-populated from that. So again, you can click on the link on a web page, you can use the mobile device, you can send out that URL code, which is really handy. I'm going to show you how to make a gift with the Presbytery of Lake Erie. And do a new share. Here we go. Maybe I'm not doing my new share. Let's see. Can you see? So you see coronavirus, pandemic, and information. Is that showing up on your screen? Okay. So we're at the Presbytery of Lake Erie page, and whoopsie daisy. Trying to move this so I can see that. Do you see this Give Now button up here? So they have it in the top third of their website. I'd recommend that to you. For the first year and a half that our Presbytery had online giving, they had it at the bottom of their page, which tells folks they're a little embarrassed to ask for money. Don't do that. Put it at the top of the page. Make it easy for your members to see how it is they can make a contribution to the ministry they love, right? I click here, and do you see Lake Erie Presbytery? Are you able to see that, Shannon, and a logo on a white screen? Great. So if I were not to log in, I'm not going to use my credentials here, and I wanted to give to Presbytery Mission, I just put it in here. This is how I would do it as a guest. I get to come down here and choose how I like to make it. I'm going to make it a one-time gift. I hit continue, and it takes me to the donation form where I can fill in my name and all my donor information. Is this, a gift from my checking account, my savings account, or credit or debit. And I'm going to actually back out of this, and I am going to log in so I don't have to put in all that information today. Just thinking. I'm going to add a transaction here. I'm going to make a $50 gift today to General Mission. I'm going to make this a one-time gift. I click continue. Now I get to choose, is this from my checking or savings account? I actually want to make it misbehaving a bit. There we go. I have an Amex card on file. I'm going to add my CVV code. Everything else is already pre-populated. You see down here, it says give additional 2% to help offset the processing fee. I'm going to check that box. And today I'm going to write something in the notes. Our Committee on Ministry has an emergency assistance fund for clergy, and I serve on the trustees, and I know that it is running low. So I'm going to make my gift for that specific purpose to help support our presbytery through this pandemic. I hit process. You see I have this page that automatically comes up. I can print the page. I've also just received an e-receipt in my Gmail box. You can see my real name's Mary Eleanor. But this will show up again in my email box. I don't like to save my receipts, or even if I intend to, I lose them. What I appreciate is I get that year-end summary from the foundation, so I don't have to worry about saving those receipts, which is really handy. I can go in and change information on my profile, but I want to look at my summary today. You can see I have a recurring gift that I do on the 17th of each month. If I want to edit that at any time, I just hit details and I can edit that. If I want to see what have I done since the beginning of the year, I can search and see my total giving since the beginning of the year. Now, I have not been to a presbytery meeting for my presbytery because I've been at other presbytery meetings. So you can see I have not given anything to the presbytery offering this year. But if I want to see what I did last year, I can go in and look. And I can see in 19, those were gifts I made to the regular presbytery meeting offering. If I want to see all funds or just say general mission, I pledge $1,800 a year to the presbytery, and I support it both through my donor advised fund, but also through online giving. I can see my total transactions for 2019 that went to the Presbytery of Lake Erie, specifically for general mission. So that's handy when I'm trying to figure out how much more do I need to give to meet my estimate of giving. So that's what you see from a donor side. I find this is a great tool. Your church, when you set up online giving with us, this section will be just plain white if you don't send us a logo, but you would just email your logo to onlineservices@presbyterianfoundation.org, and our team will put that in. We do have a team of 3 who run our online giving service in our home office. So you know whenever you have a question, you're talking to Lucy, Kim, or Jenna. And they have a dedicated toll-free line you can call. And so you don't get caught in the phone tree at the foundation. You'll reach one of them. If they're not able to pick up your call at that moment, if they're working with other clients, then leave a message and they promise to get back to you in 24 hours. And they're very faithful at that, even in the midst of this pandemic. So you can also call me if you have questions. For your administrators, they'll send you screenshots to help you learn how to use both InnoView and the Vanco's reporting, but they'll share with you screenshots, and we can even do a meeting like this if we need to do a screen share to clarify and help you understand what you're seeing. And we know there are many different experience levels working with computers and online giving, and we hope to make it easy for folks. So that is that piece. I'm going to stop the share on this. I'm going to go back to my presentation. Whoops. And we'll go back to where we were. The other thing I want to share with you is Give Plus. So this is the app I talked about. If you have a smartphone, pull it out. If it's an iPhone, go to the App Store. If it's an Android, go to Google Play and search for Give Plus. Now it looks like it says Give Plus Plus. It's Give Plus Church. And so it's a Give Plus, and that is actually a cross sign at the end, not another plus. If you see, the tail is a little longer, it's a proper plus. But this is a great way to boost giving. When you are doing your worship services online right now, it's important to tell the story of what you're doing in ministry, how your ministry is vital and important in the midst of this pandemic. How are you still being the church? What are you doing in mission and ministry? Tell those stories and then invite people to support the ministry you're doing. Invite them to be a part of it, to share their time, talent, and resource. We do know that with many folks, their income being disrupted or even missing paychecks altogether, that's where you're going to want to focus on time, talent. I like to talk about time, talent, and resource all together, and dedicating all three at a personally meaningful level. So it might be that, you know, our time, talent, resource are a three-legged stool. I hope we're all engaging all three. And sometimes there are periods in our life we can't do as much in one area as we might hope to, but we can discern what we can do. And it's keeping all three engaged. Now, if you take one away completely, you get a two-legged stool that falls over. So you want to keep all three engaged, and even if one's slightly shorter or two are slightly shorter, you're kind of a little wonky, but you're still standing, right? So we want to encourage folks to think about how are they using their time, talent, and resource? Are they sharing different ways? You can reach out by picking up the telephone, calling others, not only in the church, but in your community, checking in on them. Those who live alone, those who may be single parents, those who have kids home for the first time and maybe at wit's end. Checking on one another is a great way to use our time and talent. Finding out how can we be present. For some churches, they are trying to figure out how are we going to run our food pantry when most of our volunteers are in their 70s and we really don't want them out. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, we have a lot of folks who are at home, but that also means we do have some younger folks who might be able to come and put groceries in people's cars. Pardon me, I have a little visitor who's not in daycare. Also, I want to share with you Give Plus Swipe that's available. This is really handy for when you are back together. And say you're doing a bake sale or selling tickets for an event. Instead of having to have Square on the side, you can use the Give Plus Swipe. The hardware is $45, and you just contact our online services team for that hardware to order it. And it has the standard 2% administrative fee with it. And this is compatible with both Apple and Android devices. And you just download the free app and plug the card reader into your mobile device, and you're ready to start collecting payments. So it will pre-populate your different funds. You simply touch the touch screen on that mobile device. You're able to enter your amount, you swipe your card, and then it gives you this transaction successful. So this is another resource that's available to you. What I want you to remember is you're targeting typically casual givers, those who are showing up at worship who don't carry cash or check in the offering plate, you're targeting them. You're also encouraging folks who want to do recurring gifts. We have a church in Clinton, New Jersey, who went to doing online giving, and they have 25% of their membership is giving a recurring gift, and they no longer have summer shortfalls. I want you to think about the liturgical act of giving. Be creative and encourage folks to consider whether they're giving online. Maybe they're giving once a month with a check because they just don't want to pay the bank for a check every week. So they give one check a month to the church. You can use Pew cards. We'll give you a starter set, as well as I'll send you, pardon me, Elizabeth, please go downstairs and see your dad. Thank you. Sorry about that. Someone is getting restless. So having that Pew card is great because those off weeks or those who give online can still have a tangible expression of their gift to offer as part of the prayer of dedication. And it's really handy for kiddos to be able to see the grown-ups participate in the offering, or for the kiddos to be able to participate in the offering. That's really important. Also critical is to talk about the options and how you can give. Particularly in the pandemic, I want you to say to folks, we appreciate your investment in the church. Share your time, talent, and resource. And as you try to figure out how to share your resource in this time, here are some of your options. Send a check directly to the church. If you're already doing that and comfortable with that, we're happy to receive it. 2, if you're using online bill pay, simply set up the church as a payee. You can, if you're already paying your gas bill and your electric bill and your credit card bill online, you can set up the church as a payee, and the church will get a paper check from the bank based on the schedule you've set up and the amount. There's no fee for that. 3 would be through giving through clicking that button for your church, that Give Now button, or using the Give Plus app to make a gift either out of your checking or savings account or from one of your credit or debit cards. The key, though, is letting folks know there are multiple ways that you can share your time, talent, and resource, and we hope that you can find the venues we offered to help you do that will help you live into sharing your offering. So the key is talking about it, and even when the pandemic is over, make sure that you are including information for folks. You have it in the bulletin, particularly if you think everyone in our church knows about it, still have it for the potential visitor. If 6 weeks from now you're still doing online worship, still talk about the many ways people can give, because you may have new visitors. You don't want them to forget. Consider when you anytime an email goes out from the church, include that URL code. If you have folks who are getting a printed bulletin or a printed newsletter, snail mail, old-fashioned still, because they might not have access, include the QR code that we will send you. That's a black and white square that anyone can scan with their smartphone, and it will pull up that page. So the key is keeping it in front of folks. And know that we have on our homepage with print services many resources that you can share. You can order those printed items. I find they can be a little expensive, particularly with shipping, or you can simply edit it, modify it with your church information, save the PDF, and print it out locally or even on your copier and cardstock there at the church. Here's a sample of the Pew cards you would receive, a starter set of 100 from us. We would send you a code that you'd simply put in to order those, and we'll send them to you. This is a sample of a Pew card I will send to you from First Peachtree City. And if you're going to use this one, it's already set up for Vistaprint to fit the regular size Pew rack. And I'd recommend you simply take the name and logo out of First PC, Peachtree City, put in your name, logo, and email address, and on the back, change the QR code, because you want them giving to you, not to Peachtree City, right? But you change that and you can print it up very easily and you have Pew cards ready to go. Here are some sample bullets and inserts that would be useful when you're back together, and you'll be able to click on this link to see some of the other print resources available to you. Do you have any questions?
So Ellie, one of the questions in the chat box, there's two questions. One is that on our Presbytery website, if you go to our main page, which is psne.org, you'll see at the top of our page, there's like a special banner with the COVID-19 resources, and then also with worship information. So if you click on those resources, we've added Ellie's resources in there already, but we can add additional ones anytime. And then Ellie, there also was a question about, do we get an acknowledgement that the application was received when it is put in?
You won't get an acknowledgement when it's received, but if you want to, please copy me. I can review it as well, make sure all the details that our online services team needs has it, that they have everything they need in that app. I can review it, and I can send you an acknowledgement, and then they will, within 7 to 10 business days, you will get your login with all of your information and you will be live at that point. It's the only thing dependent upon will be you sharing that information, putting it on your website, letting folks know they can go to the Give Plus app. That's what will be critical from there.
Great. Who typically is the administrator for this in a congregation?
Often it's, you would have 2 administrators, I'd say. Often the treasurer, if you have a financial secretary, maybe the financial secretary and the treasurer. There's also a space to list promoter. That would be a person who you don't want to get the giving information, but they're a different person who usually does the website and the putting the information out there. So the administrators, again, they see all the gifts coming in. And so that's why you would have typically 2 folks doing that, and limit it to that. Some churches, the treasurer and the financial secretary are the same people who are going to be promoting that, so you don't have to worry about listing a promoter. One other thing as you're looking at the application, it does ask for proof of PCUSA relatedness. Congregations don't have to do that. We know you're PCUSA related. But for missions related to our churches who would like to use this service, if we are providing year after year, your congregation's providing ongoing support to a food pantry or some other program, they're eligible to use our service as well. But we need a copy of their 501c3 designation. We need a copy, evidence that they really are supported by your congregation, the Presbytery, GA, or Synod. And if you do have any ministries you do support who want to use this service, simply let me know and I'll send you that extra documentation that they would need to fill out.
And that also reminds me of something, Ellie, I want to bring up from our Presbytery in Southern New England is we both use it for donations and also for fee for service. So we use it as part of our registration for Presbytery meetings when people pay for either their lunch or dinner, depending on if we're having a day meeting or an evening meeting. And then we also have used it for fee for service for retreat registration. And also that it's not static. You can change your designations around on the website. So a year and a half ago, we had a church that we had a significant church fire in our Presbytery, and it was not a church that we had direct giving to through the Presbytery, but we wanted to help them with online donations immediately. And so, and people in the Presbytery wanted to give through the Presbytery. So we added another option on our donate page for that congregation. And all that took was just emailing the foundation member service person and they added it for us. So, so it can be flexible and you can change it around. You can delete things. We did registration for this retreat a year ago and then we deleted it once that retreat was over. So you can move things around and designate them differently. And then you can have continuing things that just are always there. Like our offering, our ministerial relief fund, those sorts of things in the Presbytery.
And I would recommend starting out with 2 funds, general contributions and PCUSA special offerings fund with 1 great hour of sharing coming up and You know, a portion of that goes to PDA, which is their work's going to be critical in the midst of this crisis. I'd recommend having those two. Again, folks can use that note box to designate anything else special. There are some churches, though, who think they're going to have 10 funds. And we would caution against that because it can create donor fatigue,
Right.
where donors don't know what they should choose. So
Right.
we would say keep it a short list if for more than one fund. But as Shannon said, you can take them up or down simply by emailing onlineservices@presbyterianfoundation.org.
So we have another question, Ellie, about at Northminster Church. They have a preschool that's a mission of the church. And wondering if the preschool would be under their own login or the church's, and can they collect tuition and registration fee-for-service payments for the preschool?
So they would be under the churches, and so you would just direct those parents to go to the church website to pay, and we would set that up as fee-for-service for tuition, and we have a number of other churches who do that. One church off the top of my head, Beulah Presbyterian Church in Pittsburgh. I know they have a preschool and we do fee for service for them for their preschool. So something we're accustomed to and we're happy to do that.
That's great. Other questions that folks have, you can also just talk as well. It's okay.
But if that preschool were a separately incorporated 501c3 that you are supporting, then they can have their very own page. But if it is part of your 501c3, then they'd simply be a fund under your listing, if that makes sense.
That's great.
But what's nice about that is you don't need a separate relatedness form either,
Right.
because they are yours.
Any other questions for Ellie that anybody's got? Well, great. Well, I know, Ellie, we're getting close to time for you because you've got a number of press trays stacked up. So I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming. We will get, we will post Ellie's PowerPoint on the Presbytery's resource page. I have it, so we'll get it posted up there. And Ellie's contact information, you all have that as well. If you need anything at all, just reach out to either one of us. We'd be glad to help you. And just want to say it's really great to have the foundation as our partner in ministry for all sorts of things. And we're glad that we could welcome folks from other presbyteries around our synod and beyond to be with us today. So that's also great. Why don't I close us in a word of prayer? Let us pray. Loving Lord, we give you thanks for this day. We give you thanks for your creation, which is wide and vast and beautiful. We give you thanks for the gifts that you give to us out of your abundance. We give you thanks for the church, for its witness and for its ministry and so many places and spaces. We give you thanks for the calling that we each share to do ministry, to serve your people, and to strengthen our communities. We ask, oh God, that in this time, especially, you would help us to more deeply live out our calling of discipleship and to be the church that you have called us to be the place of peace, to be the place of calm, to be the place of justice, and to be the place of growth. We pray for all of those around this world who are struggling at this time, especially those who are struggling as we are in the midst of a worldwide pandemic. We give you thanks, O God, for your wisdom, which is poured out on scientists and medical professionals and caregivers who are making people well and caring for those lovingly who are dying. We give you thanks, O God, that even in this time of fear and deep anxiety, that you walk with us, that we are assured that you never leave us, that you are always by our side. Help us to live deeply into that comfort and into that peace, and to find ways to share it with others as we seek out our ways to be your people individually and as the church. We pray all these things in Christ's name. Amen. Great. Well, thank you so much, everyone. And I hope you are all well. I hope your families and communities are well, and we will keep offering more resources as we go forward. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.